All right, hey witches, it is story time. And guess what? I brought notes because my last video was so all over the place, but that's okay. Like, I really felt like it was truly me trying to get something out, and I felt like the message was heard. I had quite a few people come back and say, "Oh, like this, yes, yes, like that." All right. As you know, Nami's gonna be at my feet, so if you hear cat meowing, it's not your house, it's mine. And cheers, it's Friday. And this is going to be a very personal story about my own witchcraft. And if you're new here, which I've never said that before, I've been a practicing witch for 25 years. I've done a lot of different spells that usually do not include the weather. But this particular story is about me having my wedding day and wanting it to not rain. And I live in Florida, and my wedding was was in June. I chose that to align with a certain goddess. I chose that month because of the summer solstice. I felt so powerful about June 22nd. I just really, really loved it. So knowing that in June in Florida, we get, I think the average is maybe 10 or 12 days of rain. And then in July, it's like 17 days of rain. It's supposed to rain a lot in Florida in the summertime, and had. When we first got into this house, our yard was flooding. So that's what happens in the summertime. And I thought, oh my gosh, that would just be so detrimental for the yard to flood, and we have this pour down rain on our wedding day. So I took my little witch self and I created a spell, which was very simple. We did hand fasting. So I made a miniature hand fasting that I used for the spell. I used a pomegranate as an offering, and I called in one of the goddesses that I work with for, love, marriage, the month of June. And yeah, I just did a little spell, and I was like, okay, listen, I just really, this is like the first big thing I've ever done like this. I just really want things to go well. And I had all these high hopes of, just no rain for that day. Like anything, if it wants to be windy, if it wants to be anything else. And I just very clearly asked for no rain. I did not get rain on my wedding day, but I also did not get any wind. So it was scorching hot with no breeze. And normally we have a breeze around here. So everybody was sweating. I was sweating. My sister was sweating. My mom, all the guests, the photography, everything. Okay. And with the whole rain thing, I had a rain plan. I did. I had a space where we could have done the wedding, and I had it all set up to be, if it was going to be on that day, like I would know what to do. So even though I did a spell for it, I still kind of planned like in case. All right. So let's dive into that. I did a spell requesting something from the universe, possibly from a goddess, help with something that I thought would be the best outcome of the situation. I got what I wanted. Now, here is something really interesting. Spells have unintended, oh my gosh, I'm losing my words. Sorry. I'm gonna take a drink. Spells can have unintended outcomes. Holy crap, I'm losing the word of that. You guys are all saying it in your head right now. I know you know what I mean. But there's these unintended things that'll happen after a spell, and you're like, oh shit, well, I didn't really want that to happen, but it's not so bad, right? Okay, so year one, water at our house, the rain, we didn't get the torrential downpour, and everybody was like, oh, El Nino, whatever, blaming weather patterns. Okay, year two, still didn't get a lot of rain. I was like, well, that's interesting. At least our yard doesn't flood every year. I thought, oh, okay, so we just moved in on the wettest year, and then the next year was pretty solid with not a lot of rain, and the next year was a little drier, and then drier, and then drier. And last year was an extremely dry, hot summer, and we've been redoing our yard and doing garden beds and all this, and we're suffering in the summertime. It's like there is no rain for our yard, for our plants to grow a garden. Like, it's just been a struggle. So in the past probably 2 months, maybe even 3, since hurricane season started back in June, I thought, okay, it's going to be a wet summer. Like, it's been 4 years. That's usually the cycle. It all starts over. It's going to be a wet summer. My husband and I would be watching the radar. We would see the storms coming from the south. Okay. So they're coming up from like Miami and the Keys and Fort Myers. And my sister who lives in Fort Myers is getting flooded. Sarasota right above me, getting flooded. Me, my road where I live, no rain. And my husband and I would watch the radar, and the rain clouds would be going, and they'd hit our little town and be like, bloop, and it would just jump over us, literally. And I kept thinking, this is the most ridiculous thing ever, right? Like, why is rain never ever hitting us? And I was joking with my husband because, again, we don't really mess with weather spells in my family just because we've had them be too successful. That's the best way to put that. So here we are watching these storms jump over us. And I'm out there having to water every single day, right? Using my well water, keep my plants alive, keep the garden growing, keep the butterflies happy, keep the birds happy, everything. And I kept thinking, this is draining me so much. Like, why are we not getting rain when everybody else is getting rain? I'm talking like a mile away, torrential downpour. A mile away here, torrential downpour. But me in my little town, nothing. And I started joking with my husband about, I'm going to go out there and do a I don't care if it's a rain dance. I'm going to do rain spells. I'm going to burn certain herbs that are known to, bring rain around. Yes, Nami baby. I know I'm on camera. So I kept joking about that for a couple months, and I thought, should I really? I'm like, that's just not my go-to normally. That's, I just kind of wait for things to balance out, to level out. I kind of deal with it. I always feel like it's teaching me something, maybe it was patience, but I thought 4 years was a pretty exorbitant amount of time to wait. So one day my mom calls me and she's like, are you getting rain? It is like a hurricane down here. And I said, nothing, not even a drop. And my mom does not live that far from me. She's just down the road, Nothing, no rain whatsoever. I was kind of pissed by then, can't I? Because what it meant when I didn't get rain is that I had to spend an extra hour and a half out in the yard watering stuff, and I needed to be doing other things like building witch school or tending to things or doing household chores or grocery shopping or whatever I needed to be doing. I was like, damn, in the summer, usually we get the rain. You don't have to water. Okay. This is when I realized, oh my gosh, remember 5 years ago when I did that weather spell and I asked for no rain, just here for the wedding day? And I thought, there's no way, right? No, 5 years later, no, there's no way. But then the more I talked to my mom about it, I talked to my sister about it, and they were like, Bish, we told you not to mess with the weather. And I'm like, yeah, but that was like for a day, and it was 5 years ago, and looking at the pattern, it's like, yeah, okay, all right, so we haven't gotten rain. So now I'm like, they keep telling me, like, you need to release the spell, which is a normal thing that we do when your spell has, like, when you've got your intended results, you can release all the materials within the spell. Well, guess what? I don't have anything left over from my spell. I don't know where the little mini thing went. Once that was done, I like gave thanks and that was it. But I didn't like call it off, I guess. I don't know. Listen, it's not like I have all the answers to this shit, but I didn't call off the no rain on my property. And I went ahead and like my little mini hand fasting that I carried with me for all those months before the wedding, I don't even know what I did with it now because it was all done, right? Everything worked out the way I asked for it to. I couldn't be mad about it. I didn't get any rain on that day. The pomegranate that I used, I put out for nature, as I always do. So how am I going to release the spell now that I have nothing of the spell left? So I had to go outside multiple days in a row and have an energetic conversation with like the sky, the goddess that I had asked for help for. And what I realized is that it was really quite dumb. Not dumb, that's a bad word. It was arrogant, maybe. I don't know. I did not need to control the weather because now, 6 years later, me now, if it was going to rain, I'd be like, you know what kind of awesome pictures we could get in a wedding in rain? I wouldn't even care now. But the me, 6 years ago was like, absolutely not. It needs to be perfect. I needed like to have this whole day. I needed the plan. I needed everything to work out just the way that when we're trying to control the elements that we think are perfect, I do often find that sometimes if it's not something that's just an open thing and you're accepting blessings, you're not just saying it has to be this way in this, all the control that we try to do as humans, you get these unintended results. Oh, that was the word I was looking for. Weather spells have unintended results. That's what I was looking for. So my unintended results of my weather spell was that it didn't stop at that one day. It persisted and it got worse and worse and worse and worse. So I spent about 4 days going out there to the same spot where I did the spell and talking to the sky, talking to the clouds, talking to the goddess that I asked for help. And I almost thought, should I recreate it? Should I do something like I don't even know what to do at this point, but I really felt like spells are just energy work anyways. You don't need the stuff to release it. you really need the intention of saying, you know what, I've grown since then. I have grown since thinking that I needed to control things, to make things perfect, to have things come out the way that they're supposed to be. I should have just allowed whatever beautiful day the universe was willing to give me, be it a sprinkle that would have cooled things down a lot. In Florida in mid-June, it's hot, it's real hot. I should have allowed that. I should have just said, I'm okay with whatever the universe brings. And I have that acceptance now. I have that. I've changed to be that now. But back then, I was so worried about it turning out crappy, or people thinking, right? People thinking about it badly. Oh my gosh, that's where we get stuck, and we want to change and control what other people think about us or our experiences. I should not have given an F about any of that. Who cares? It should have just been magical for me and my husband, and then that was it. I should have let all that other stuff go. But this is real growth, you know, to acknowledge it 6 years later, 5 years, 6 years later, is to say, I understand how I've grown and what I won't do, and that I have to allow, and what needs to go goes, and what comes will come my way. Like, okay, all the work that I've done on my garden, if things start dying off, all right, we'll collect the seeds from that. I'm doing other things to propagate these plants, but you almost want the good times to never end. And that's part of the reasons why we try to control things with spells, thinking that we want to stay at this constant and we don't want any more learning experiences, because difficulties are just learning experiences. They always change. It's not like you stay in this one thing. It's a time to, you know, use your skills of, how do I adjust to this? How do I be okay with this? How do I not try to control it? How do I not perfect everything? That unintended result for the weather was also an unintended growth point for me, when I really had that realization of like, oh my gosh, I would be totally okay with the rain now. I wouldn't even care. I'd laugh about it. I think there would be beautiful pictures of me and my husband kissing in our wedding attire, and like, oh, we did it in our yard just around our pool. Like, it was a very small family wedding, which is exactly what I wanted. And I think he just said yes to it. He was like, whatever you want. But there's that growth of not trying to control. So if you're in a place in your life and you really want to try to control the thing that's going on, I urge you to look at it as a learning lesson and say, okay, I'm going to experience this anyways, and how can I experience this in a way that's going to be beneficial to my soul? How can I grow from this? Because whatever is here in the physical anyways, me and my husband's bodies, our wedding pictures, everybody that was at that wedding, this house, everything that we have will not last forever. So why did I care so much about making it perfect for that one day? Is it my memory? Did it really mess up my memory that much? Did the memory of the event, did it really change that much by not having the rain? These are reflection questions for myself. If you want to think about them for you, if you've done any spells, or you've desired something that you thought, oh, the best way for this to go is like this, and then it happened like that, and you're going, oh shit, I wish maybe that could have been different. I could have accepted it another way. That acceptance, that just being open to like receive what is out there. You don't know the blessings that you're shutting down when you try to control things. Just like you don't know what you're being saved from when things don't work out your way. It's both ways, right? We try to control something and it comes out exactly how we want, but you're like, oh man, it would have been really cool if this other thing happened. Well, maybe the universe had the plan for that, but it's giving you an opportunity to understand, you wanted to control this. We gave you the control. Now you have to deal with the consequences of that. Same way with, if you allow and you accept and you just invite, they're like, let's throw all these things in the mix of it and just see how well it goes, you know, and see what you can take from it and laugh about. I will say that the one super disappointing thing in my wedding that it's hard to talk about, I don't want to look at pictures of it. It is one of the most frustrating purchases I've ever made in my life, was my wedding cake. That shit turned out so terrible. And I drove an hour away to have it made by a lady, supposedly high reputation. She had the pictures, all the things. And guess what? When it showed up, I was like, that's not my cake. That is not my cake. And it was my cake. And it was the most disappointing thing ever. I should have done a spell for that. Just kidding. It's about allowing and not trying to control. That's truly what it's about. And Nami says, yes, that's what we should be doing. Spells are good for self-help to get us to change, but trying to control our environment, I feel like it always has an unintended result. If you guys feel the same way, or you've had anything happen to you that's similar to that, just let me know in the comments. But I wanted to tell you guys my story of growth and where I'm at now. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.